Maria, thank you very much for coming. We had a very interesting program together in the second half of last year. The first contact was made by Tibor Darabont, who is your colleague at Customer Impact.
Yes.
And Customer Impact is the company
That's right.
you work for. And I was very happy to see Tibor because he is one of our former students, a member of our alumni group. And he spoke about the company. What is the profile of Customer Impact?
Well, Customer Impact provides customer feedback programs for companies, and we also show the results of those feedback programs in dashboards, sort of tailor-made for customer feedback. So, of course, it was a great fit for your customer orientation program because these programs can then show how customers can adopt a customer program.
You mentioned this word fit. And that's why it came to my mind after having a discussion with Tibor that we can cooperate, because we were contacted by a company from the commodity business, and they asked us to design and to run a tailor-made customized program about the customer experience. And because they would like to improve their sales and marketing activities. And that's why I contacted Tibor, that's why I contacted you and offered you this cooperation. And we designed and we ran the program last year successfully. What was the logic of this program? So what were the most important steps in this program?
Well, I think we took the idea of the customer journey. And so when we started out, we had the company fill out an audit. So it was a customer centricity audit. And this audit allowed them to become aware of where they stood in terms of how a company adopts a customer feedback program and how they're doing, what stage they are in the customer, sort of the journey to customer centricity. So once they became aware of that, then they could go forward with all of the activities that we did in terms of thinking about how they can improve, learning about the touch points, the interactions that the customers have with the company.
So it was a 2-day-long, very interactive workshop-type program. I do not remember the exact numbers, but maybe 40 managers were in a room, and they were organized to 3 groups. And you were the moderator of one of the groups. The first step was to prepare the customer journey map. With the most important touch points, how the customer contacts the company and how the company reacts. Do you remember what happened in the group you moderated? Did they like this type of work, or they had some problems at the beginning?
Yeah, I think it was very effective to put them into groups. I think the employees who wouldn't normally speak out in a big session in front of all the company employees would do so in a small group. So they were able to think about the issues that they had to tackle and then make recommendations, because in 30 minutes they would have to actually go and present the results in front of the whole group.
So at the end of the first session, they presented their findings, their recommendations to the general audience in a plenary session. And then in the next phase, they had to generate some ideas about how to improve the customer experience. And maybe from your point of view, the third phase was the most interesting, because in the third phase, they have to recommend some metrics. How to measure success. So when they improve something, then an indicator must be better. And you made an introduction at the beginning of this session. What was the content of this introduction?
Right. So we talked about the measures and the metrics that are associated with those measures.
And it is your field.
Right. Exactly. So, for example, if you're looking at measures such as customer loyalty, you would then use maybe a metric like the percentage of referrals that your company gets, or from a survey, you would look at the percentage of customers that will definitely recommend you. So those are the type of metrics that you would then put into a graphical format and put together in a dashboard with other metrics.
And you showed them some examples, just generating ideas that how to translate these indicators to the language of dashboards.
Right, exactly. So we provided some real-life examples of how companies are actually using these, how they're using dashboards to monitor their progress with their customers.
What is your experience with dashboards? So do companies like this method and this tool?
They're so happy with it. They really like it. It's what we do is we take the dashboards and put them internal to their company, so they're actually in their portal. So whenever they need to find a number, they can quickly go and open the dashboard and run off to their meeting and show the most updated numbers. They don't have to run through many Excel spreadsheets and call up people to find out what's going on. They can just immediately get the information that they need.
But I remember that on our joint program, maybe it was the most difficult phase. I remember that some groups have problems to design and to present the ideas about the dashboard. But it's not easy to develop metrics for performance measurement. Is it a general truth, or you think that it was only at this company?
No, I think that is hard for people to think about. Okay, I have a measure, but then I need to put that in a graphical format, because there's all kinds of ways that you can do that effectively. One of the ways that many of these programs for designing dashboard metrics use is alerting. So you have to think about ways in which, when you look at something, that it actually tells you something. Are you going outside the boundaries of the metric showing you? Is it alerting you to an issue? Is it telling you that everything's okay? So those are the things that you need to decide beforehand when creating something like this. And I think many companies aren't necessarily, employees in companies aren't necessarily thinking about those things. But of course we help with best practice in that area.
And it helps implementation, I think, because it's relatively easy to generate some improvement ideas. And if you have a good map of the process the customer is making at the company, then it is really easy to change some steps on paper. But if you want to implement it, you need these metrics as well. Otherwise, you cannot tell whether something improved or not.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And do you remember how we finished the program? What was the fourth phase?
I think they were looking at, again, how to think about putting all of these improvement efforts into a measurement system, so that they could go ahead and implement some of the ideas that they were doing there.
So the last phase was about implementation.
Right, implementation.
What are the most important lessons you learned on this program? Because it was a program for a company, but by my experience, the professors and the teachers, the moderators, always learn something on these programs.
Well, I definitely learned about how important it is to go through these steps that these companies did, especially for buy-in for the employees. I mean, once the employees learn about what customer interactions are, what are the important touch points, and they begin to make recommendations. And then later, when the company actually tries to implement those, the employees want to see that their ideas were successful, so that they will encourage those throughout the organization when they're implemented. So I think...
Yeah. And it was interesting to see, and it was my experience that it was really interesting, that only a few people understood the whole process. And people were very much focused on their specific role, on their specific function, and did not see what happens before and what happens after. So this process approach is very important to see the whole picture.
That's right,
yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I think that it was really an exciting and very useful cooperation for everybody, and I hope that we can repeat it soon in the future. Thank you very much for coming.